Assalamu alaikum students, welcome back to the e-lecture number 5 of your Pakistan studies. You all have been listening to the YouTube lectures for the completion of your syllabus, but now unfortunately we don't have any YouTube link left, so I have to deliver this lecture myself. So let's start with our topic of today. Today's topic is economic development. So first we'll have a look at what is economic development. Economic development is basically the growth of an economy from backward to advanced economy. And how does a country or an economy goes from backward to advanced? Well, it's a process which changes are introduced by economy by adopting and utilizing modern, advanced capital and human resources as to increase the income of the country. And when we talk about income, we're actually saying the ability to buy goods and services. And when a country becomes an advanced economy, what happens is that their living standard increases, their education, they have more prospects for education, health and employment, and also as to recreation activities. So Mohammad Shoaib, an economist of the World Bank, was appointed finance minister in the martial law government of Ayub Khan. Remember, this was a regime of Ayub Khan, so we were having a military regime in our country at this time. Mohammad Shoaib, he controlled imports and exports effectively. He encouraged exports in the national trade that caused much savings in the foreign exchange. Licenses were issued for the industrial development and new industries were established. Of course, the advent of new industries mean that we are able to produce more goods or services. And if we are producing more of goods and services, that means our GDP or our national income is also increasing. So overall, this step brought prosperity in the country. Even in today, if you want to look at the prosperity of any country or you want to look at the development of any country, you can guess it by the industrial process that is going on. For instance, if there are strikes or if there are holidays or the industries are stopping or being shut down, that means that country is not developing. So during this regime, the second 5-year plan, which started from 1960 to 1965, and the third 5-year plan 1965 to 70 were prepared. So basically Mohammad Shoaib was a very vital role. He played a very vital role in creating these two 5-year plans, and we'll be having a look at these two plans today. With the termination of the first plan period, which was from 1955 to 16. Okay, so what happened in the first plan period? Why was it terminated? Firstly, this plan was executed by then the Prime Minister in 1948, Liaquat Ali Khan, who wanted to have these 5-year plans for the Pakistan. But of course, when he was assassinated, these plans were not the priority of Pakistan at that time. And then in 1953, we faced huge monsoon floods. So then these plans were not even advocated. So then after reassessment and collectivization, it was again published in 1956 by then the Prime Minister Muhammad Ali Bogra, with agriculture development as our main priority in West Pakistan also and in East Pakistan also. However, the program was built entirely in the absence of much essential information and basic statistics. So in practice, this plan was not implemented because of its enormous size. There was shortage of technical knowledge, and the Awami League's government also has shortage of foreign exchange to execute this plan. So that is why the first 5-year plan was never implemented, or it was a failure. Then coming back to the second 5-year plan. In the second 5-year plan, the highest priority was given to industrial development, and it had a single underlying purpose to advance the country as far as possible within the next 5 years along the road of these long-range objectives. So what were the basic objectives or the main targets of this plan? Let's have a look at that. The first target was to attain an increase in national income by 24%. The second target was to increase of about 10% in per capita income. Okay, please, you must have a pencil with you now because you need to write down the definitions of these words. So, national income is the total value of the country's output of all new goods and services produced in that one particular year. So, national income was to be increased by 24%, and then per capita income. What is per capita income? Per capita income is the average income earned by per person in a given area in a specific year. So dividing the area's total income by its total population, we can get per capita income. So that was to be increased by 10%. Then the third target was to provide opportunities of employment to 2.5 million people. Then there comes the target of agriculture output that was to be increased by 14%. Then there was the increase in the industrial production that was also to be increased by 14% in large scale as well as medium scale industries. Okay, so what are large scale industries? Large scale industries, they actually use machinery and they employ large amount of labor which is approximately greater than 500 or even 1000. Then they have proper factory acts and etc. The example of a large scale industry can be of tea or can be of jute. And what about the medium scale industry? Medium scale industry employs above 100 or above 250 labor. And the example of a medium scale industry can be a chocolate factory or a napkin or a tissue factory or a bottle factory even as well. So these kind of industries were to be increased, their production were to be increased by 14%. And then there was the industrial production were to be increased of the small scale industries by 25%. So basically small scale industries are those that employ workers and the work is done by a manpower or small machines. Like the small machines are operated by the workers themselves. The one small scale industry that I visited personally myself was they used to produce cables of the tractors, and there were probably 12 to 15 employees, and there were even women there who were all working by their hand. I mean, like they were machines, but they were all operating with their hands. Like they were pressing the machines or they were turning the machines like so. That was the small scale industry that I visited. So cottage and small scale industries were to be increased by 25%. And then the final target was to increase exports at the rate of 3% annual increase, or that is 3% per annum. So it was estimated that the second 5-year plan, the target or the budget that was needed was of rupees 23 billion, and it was estimated that rupees 12.4 billion would be spent on public sector and rupees 3.8 billion on semi-public sector and rupees 6.8 billion on private sector. So under this plan, the pace of economic growth of the country remained quite satisfactory. In some sectors, higher growth rate was witnessed as compared to the estimated rate. So second 5-year plan surpassed its major goals when all sectors showed substantial growth, which also encouraged private entrepreneurs to participate in those activities in which a great deal of profit could be made. And while the government, it acted in those sectors of the economy where private businesses were reluctant to operate. So a mix of private enterprise and social responsibility was hailed as a model that other developing countries could follow. So first we discussed what were the targets of the second 5-year plan, and now let us have a look at what actually did we achieve. The national gross income exceeded even beyond 30%. Like first it was estimated the national income was supposed to be estimated at an increase of 24%, but it increased beyond 30%. Then the agriculture output was supposed to be increased by 14%, but it increased up to more than 15%. And the industrial sector that was supposed to be increased by 14% as well, that increased hugely, and that growth was recorded by more than 40%. And the exports were also fairly good, and they increased at the rate of 7% per annum. So this concludes our second 5-year plan, which was a great success. Now let us proceed to the third 5-year. Okay, some people also label that the second 5-year plan was quite successful because of the generous infusion of foreign aid, which was particularly from the United States. So as you all know that in 1965, the Indo-Pak War was fought over Kashmir. So the level of foreign assistance declined and economic constraints were imposed on Pakistan. So the third 5-year plan was designed along the lines of its immediate predecessor, and it produced, of course, modest growth, not the significant growth, but modest growth. Okay, so what were the targets of the third 5-year plan? Let's have a look at that. The first target was the gross domestic product, the GDP. GDP, what is GDP? It is basically, you can say, a snapshot, an economic snapshot of a country. So that was to be increased by 37%. Then again, the per capita income was to be increased by the rate of 20%. Per capita income is the amount of the income produced by a individual in a certain area in a certain year. So that was to be increased by 20%. Then there comes the employment. That was to be given to 5.5 million people. Then again, the pace of agriculture growth was to be increased at the rate of 5% per annum. And then comes the industrial growth, which was to be increased by 13% per annum. So you can see the difference. Basically that these 5-year plans were basically focusing on the industrial growth, and they were not mainly focusing on the agriculture growth, though Pakistan is the agricultural country. Then there was the target to prefer the establishment of basic industries. And the other target was to bring stability in the balance of payment by increasing the foreign exchange. So as I told you earlier that the foreign exchange or the foreign aid that was limited because of the 1965 war, the economic impositions were imposed on Pakistan. So this 5-year plan, it also inculcated that, and it wanted to increase the foreign exchange. And basically balance of payment is, you can say, it is a statement of all transactions made between a country and the rest of the world over a defined period of time. The export was also were expected to increase by 9.5%. And then there were the efforts made to improve the basic facilities and to provide social security to people of Pakistan. So these were mainly the targets of the third 5-year. So what was the budget that was required for this third 5-year plan? That was 52 billion. That was reserved to achieve these targets. And 30 billion were allocated for public sector, and while 22 billion were reserved for private sector. So now let's have a look at the achievement, that what did we achieve in the third 5-year plan. Well, regarding the agriculture output, that was to be increased by 5%, but that was not even achieved, and the growth was quite 4.5%. Then in exports, there was to be increase of 9.5%, but the exports only increased up to 7%. And then there comes the industrial sector. The target fixed was 13%, but only 9% increase could be made possible. So the third 5-year plan could not be succeeded for completely. In most of the factors, it could not reach its prefixed targets. In fact, the third 5-year plan was surrounded, or it was enveloped by unfavorable circumstances from the very beginning. As you know, the 1965 war, Pakistan was still recovering from that. There were economic impositions or restrictions imposed on Pakistan. And then there was a severe drought experience during the first 2 years, that is the 65 and 66, and it affected the crops badly. So that was also the basic reason that the agriculture output was not increased. Then our expenditures also increased. Our defense expenditures increased because of the Indo-Pak war, and it caused reduction in the proposed resources for the development expenditure. And a decrease of foreign aid was also noted, and that was a decrease of 27%. So the state of internal affairs was overruled by insurgents and chaos, and it altogether had a negative impact on industrial production. In short, the plan could not find favorable circumstances needed for this program or the economic